Good evening. Today is Tuesday, July 17. We're going to start the meeting today, so Penny, can you please read the opening statement and roll call?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice for the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 5, 2018, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 5, 2018, by the filing of a copy of said former notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Also, no food or beverages permitted in this room. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilwoman Smith has an excused absence this evening. Mr. Walsh?
I'm here.
Deputy Mayor Nicastro?
Here.
And Mayor Berger will be excused this evening.
And just for the record, Councilwoman Smith will be calling in during the meeting at a later time.
Yes.
Folks, I know there are some here for a swearing-in ceremony, which we will be doing, but first we have to do executive session. So the regular meeting is going to start at 7:30, so feel free to roam around the building or just stay here. But do we have reason to go into executive session?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, we have topics concerning attorney-client privilege, contract negotiations, and pending litigation.
Excellent. Penny, can you please read the statement?
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and circumstance under which a discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Roll call, please, Penny.
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes. We will convene again at 7:30. Good evening, everyone. We're going to continue the meeting, but before we do, I have a statement that I must read into the record, that executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. If I may ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we stand for a moment of silence for our soldiers serving abroad and our first responders that protect us here. Thank you. So tonight's an exciting night. We have some swearing in of law enforcement, our police officers, but before we do that, we just got some house cleaning to do, and then we're going to get to that immediately. Can I have acceptance of minutes? June 12, 2018, the regular meeting and executive session, please.
A motion to accept minutes of June 12th, regular and executive session.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes. Reports of township officials, and then we'll do the swearing-ins. Lou?
I have nothing for the governing body this evening.
Mr. Herman?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, I have quite a few things just to touch on tonight. First, just to give you a quick update on some of the things that are going on around town. Today, we were able to pave Preventorium Road prior to the raindrops between County Route 524A and the borough of Farmingdale. I haven't been out there yet, but I was told it came out very well. That was done through a DOT municipal aid grant that we received last year. Oak Glen Road has been repaved. That was for the limits of the water main project from 547 to Maxim Southard and including Maxim Southard up to Maxim Road. So that is done. The curb and apron program has been sporadically going around town. They're on Salem Hill right now. They will continue around Salem Hill until we move them to the next neighborhood. Nicholas Lane and Cranberry Road. Nicholas was milled earlier today. They will continue tomorrow and Thursday and hopefully be paving that area by the end of the week. We installed a generator pad over at the OEM Annex last week, and that was to get us closer to being fully self-sufficient should we have a power outage for hurricane season. And I also want to mention we have the Aldrich Lake ribbon cutting ceremony. That will be this Thursday at 10 a.m. at Aldrich Lake. That is for the completion of the lake project. So we're going to have some signboards showing some of the things that went on during construction, short little ceremony, and we've invited a lot of the local groups, Lake Restoration, Environmental Commission people to attend.
Came in under budget, correct, Mr. Herman?
Pardon?
Came in under budget, did it not?
Yes, so that's an opportunity for me to talk. This next conversation would be about the Aldrich Lake bonding. So when we originally did the project, based on our consulting engineer's estimates, we bonded $3.25 million for Aldrich Lake. And after doing the environmental testing that's required and putting it out to bid, the bid came in at $2.4 million due to less environmentally impacted material than we originally thought, which is good. Now that we're finished with construction, the final cost is going to be right around $2 million because during construction we actually found even less material that was impacted once we dug it out and started testing it. So right now we're roughly looking at $1.25 million of money that was bonded for the Aldrich Lake improvements that we do not need.
Did we bond it or did we disapprove to bond it?
I think, did we bond that one? I think we bonded that, right?
It's been funded through the bond anticipation note. It has not been permanently financed yet, but
We
we
can
have
remove it
borrowed
if we need
funds
to.
to pay for it.
So I'd be looking for direction tonight from the council about what to do with that $1.25 million excess.
Well, let me just start by saying that they really did a great job there. Long overdue. I want to acknowledge as the liaison to Lake Restoration and Wildlife Committee for their input and help and really pushing us to get that project done. When the project was first in its creation of being done, I didn't realize that we were going to initially do a beautiful fishing dock that is completed and I believe is even going to be put in for an award, right?
That's correct.
So kudos to your team and to the professionals and everyone who did that. I think we have an opportunity to build on that, whether it's something to put on the lake that people could, I understand people were swimming in the lake now. It's no longer a swamp, right?
That's correct.
So
It's about 10 feet deep all the way across.
10 feet deep. So I'd be open to suggestions from you and your staff of what kind of recreation we could add in there. But, I think it's a great opportunity to enhance our open space and recreation that we already have and offer. I mean, we already see the one of the king jewels of Echo Lake Park. There's no reason why this can't be, right next to that. So I'd be open to hearing some suggestions of what we can do for that and come back to us and see if we could support that. And if you're prepared to give some suggestions now, I'd be willing to take that.
Well, we are going to install some benches, picnic tables, trash receptacles, some signage, things along those lines. The conversation really would be, do we want to open the old archery range, which is the back entrance to the lake? You know, that's a conversation that we probably need to have for another day. But to determine if we want to enhance that area and use that area more. I mean, that's the area we use to gain access to the lake for this project, you know, and it's quite a ways off the beaten trail, but it's beautiful back there when you get back there, especially now right off the lake. So on the other side of the lake, there's a nice access point, so we could potentially do something with that. But it's really up to the governing body's direction if we provide some options, what you want to do.
Okay, so let's put our heads around this, and we'll get back to you through correspondence or through by our next meeting.
Very good.
Does that wrap it up, Jim?
Yes, that's it, Deputy Mayor.
Brian?
The only thing I have is the police department presentation. We're expanding our Class 3 program, putting on some new additional hires that are replacing some recent retirees, as well as a promotion.
Thank you. And Mr. Clark?
Nothing other than what we discussed in executive session.
Great. Penny?
I was just gonna say, do you want me
Any
to put
add-ons,
mine
please?
off
No,
until
I-
after the presentation? We have I have some
Okay,
additions.
let's do that, right?
Okay.
It wouldn't matter.
No problem.
Okay, I'm going to ask the council to join me up front, and we're going to start the presentation.
Rob, you're gonna make sure everybody signs the book, right? Do you want me to? Hi.
5 minutes sign for him. 5 minutes sign for the chief.
Hang on, let me get the timer going.
Sure. Okay. First, let me begin by welcoming the family and friends of the officers that are going to be sworn in today. I could tell you unequivocally that probably the proudest moment in a law enforcement career is when you first get hired. And probably the second is when you get promoted. And we are also doing promotions tonight. And these police officers that are getting sworn in today could not have joined a better police department in the state of New Jersey. That I could tell you as the elected official and as a resident. And that is a team effort and under the leadership, great leadership, of Chief Kudrick. Chief is going to come up and say a little bio about the police officers, I believe. And we are very fortunate today to have in our chambers the Sheriff of Monmouth County, Sheriff Sean Golden, who will be doing the swearing in. Sheriff, welcome. To start the process, if I could get the police officers that are being sworn in today. Do you want the promotions too, or just the swearing in of the officers first?
Promotion and all the officers.
Okay, everybody who's getting sworn in today, please step up front.
Off to the left here.
And Chief, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I continue to say this every time I have the opportunity to come up here, which is quite often, which is a good sign for a chief and a police department, is one of the greatest honors that I have as a chief is being able to start advance and continue an officer's career. And fortunately for me, tonight I get to do all three. I'm going to start off with a promotion from a patrolman to sergeant. So I'd like to call up Sergeant, newly appointed Sergeant Pete Hockhauser. So a little background on Pete. Graduated from Flagler College with honors in 2007 with a bachelor's in history and sociology. He graduated through the alternate route program in 2007. For those of you who are not familiar with an alternate route program, you put yourself through the academy yourself. New Jersey is one of the very few states in the nation that allows basically a non-police officer to put himself, somebody who hasn't been hired by a police department, to put themselves through a police academy. Most of the time, the person is doing it at their own expense. They can't work, or they're working at nighttime. So it's a big commitment by the person who's doing it. And as a chief, you look at that, and there's tremendous value in seeing somebody do that. Although I wasn't a chief back in 2007, I was a supervisor, and I appreciated what then Officer Pete Hockhauser brought to the police department. Very intelligent young man. Received the MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving Distinguished Service Award in both 2014 and 2015 for DWI enforcement. And in 2015, he also received the Kimberly Smith Ames DWI Awareness Recognition Award. On top of that, he's a field training officer, and he's been to advanced accident trainings, numerous, and have handled the investigations for numerous fatal collisions. He's currently serving as the PBA Secretary on our wonderful union. And I present to you Sergeant Peter Hockhauser. And like the sheriff often says, that he recognizes as Howell as one of the top police departments in New Jersey, I also recognize Monmouth County as an outstanding sheriff's office.
Sheriff, just one. Sheriff, one minute.
Oh, they need a mic? They need a mic? Are we not on? You okay? You got the mic? All right, good. You hold it low. Evelyn, get on, get in. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I,
Peter Hockhauser,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments established
to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of
perform all the duties of
sergeant
sergeant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. It says sign the book.
So, right here. Sign it, and just name it, sign it, and then Penny will fill out the rest. Show right in, or she got that?
Yeah, show it.
Perfect.
Oh, yes, Chief.
Hey. Scott Bigelow, can you join me up at the podium here? Scott Bigelow started his career in 2015 where Lake Como PD, who's now Belmar PD, right? Belmar PD put him through the Monmouth County Police Academy. He did one summer there before going to Fairhaven. He worked there for over a year and a half before he came to Howell. He currently holds an associate's degree. He's working on his bachelor's. Came to us highly recommended. He was actually working full-time over, as a part-time, he was working full-time over in Fairhaven. And I'm proud to introduce to you Officer Scott Bigelow. Scott, you want to have people join you up here? Want anybody to join you up here? Yep. Hi, Dana.
Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. So help me God. I do further solemnly swear that I will impartially and justly perform all the duties of patrolman according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Yeah, just sign over there. Just print your name, show 'em how's it going.
Matthew Niebling, can you come up to the podium, please? Matthew started his law enforcement career in 2014 when he interned with the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. Additionally, that summer, he started as a SLEO 1, which is a part-time, basically a parking enforcement, beach badge, non-certified police officer in Spring Lake. Throughout his time there, he obtained his associate's degree from Brookdale Community College and his bachelor's in criminal justice from Montclair State University, graduating in May of 2016. He worked 3 summers as a SLEO 1, which shows the type of dedication these young officers have. And for the first time in about 20 years, our police department sponsored somebody as a Class 2, which is a fully sworn police officer part-time, only when they're working. They only have their certification when they're actually working in the town that they're employed by. We're the first. He was the first one we sent in over 20 years. So it just shows you the quality of his character. And he was hired as a patrol officer a couple months ago, and here he is today. So I introduce to you Matthew Niebling.
Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I, Matthew Niebling, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. So help me God. I do further solemnly swear that I will impartially and justly perform all the duties of patrolman according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Courtney Kesselman, come on up. So Courtney started her career in 2016 as a Special Law Enforcement Officer 1, again, in Seagirt. And in 2016, she got the opportunity to go to the Class 2 Academy, and she graduated the 44th SLEO class of the Monmouth County Police Academy as a class leader from start to finish, and went on to win the Merit Award, which, from my understanding, is voted on by your peers? Okay, so all of her peers in the academy class voted her as being the outstanding recruit. Came in as a SLEO 2 with us in September of 2017, and she was very persistent with trying to pursue Howell. She caught my attention a few years ago. She didn't have basically the experience yet. She didn't have the training. She went and got it, came back to us, and here she is today. She's proudly the first law enforcement officer, first generation law enforcement officer in her family, and we're proud to have her on board here. Congratulations, Courtney.
Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I
I, Courtney Castleman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United
and
States
in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of
of the office of
patrolwoman
patrolman
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Ryan Norton, come on up. Ryan graduated from Stockton in 2010 with a bachelor's in criminal justice, and he's pursuing his master's degree in Homeland Security. Professionally, he's held multiple jobs within the security field, the bulk of which was spent as an armed nuclear security officer at Oyster Creek Nuclear Power Plant. During that time at Oyster Creek, he was a member of the Composite Adversary Force, which trained in a multitude of special weapons and defensive tactics, obviously keeping the nuclear power plant on lockdown. Basically, that's their own tactical team, that's their own police department there. After 6 years and a very good career there, making good money, he wanted to pursue his career in law enforcement. He became a Class 2 part-time police officer with the Manasquan Police Department. He graduated from the Monmouth County Police Academy this past May. He finished among the top recruits in the class, and he received the Traffic Safety Award, having an average of nearly 99% across 5 traffic-related exams. And there's been multiple police officers in this room that got that award, and for those of us that live in town here, we know the value of being a traffic safety officer here. He's also married to a police telecommunicator, a police dispatcher. So if you want them to come up, she's already up. Okay, very good. So I welcome you, Ryan Norton.
Left hand on the Bible, we'll excuse the right hand. I,
Ryan Norton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
The hiring of these 4 officers wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the continued support of our town council and also from our management at the township level, and also from our residents who give us extremely strong support in order for us to properly police the way that we do. So I thank everybody for that continued support. When one officer at top salary retires, we're able to hire 2 more at a lower salary. That's the reason why you see the amount of officers here. We had a few retirements. So again, thank you, and I thank the council for that. Next group of officers I want to call up is our Class 3 police officers. For those of you who are not familiar, Class 1, beach badge checkers, your parking enforcement. Class 2 is your part-time, fully sworn police officer only when they're working. And now, new to New Jersey, we were one of the first police departments. We were the top 3 in New Jersey to establish a Class 3 program, is putting those part-time police officers in our school. So I would like to call up Joe Sansone, John Quinlan, and William Andy Hansen. I just want to go over the quality of the officers that you see before you, and I'm very proud. I'm also very humbled to have these officers being sworn in tonight. I'm going to start off by talking to about the retired Captain Joseph Sansone from the New Jersey State Police. Joe, can you step forward, please? 25 years he served with the New Jersey State Police, reaching the rank of captain. He's a resident of Howell for 22 years. He has 3 children. He's a member of the 113th New Jersey State Police class, graduating in January of 1993. He was a road trooper with Field Operations Section assigned to various Troop C stations, Troop D, New Jersey Turnpike, and also the Newark City Initiative. He was an academy instructor, Division Field Operations Officer. This is where it gets impressive. I'm not saying that it wasn't impressive. He was a captain in the Deployment Services Bureau. He participated in and assisted with the planning of the following events: Super Bowl 49, Tropical Storm Sandy relief effort, Baltimore City civil disturbance. He served as a deputy incident commander for the 2015 Popple visit and the incident commander for Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico relief effort. He was the man for Puerto Rico. And for those of you who are aware that we had a few officers assigned to Puerto Rico, and they were under his direct supervision, and I got regular updates by Captain Sansone. His final assignment served as a captain of the Infrastructure Protection Bureau, overseeing threat and vulnerability assessments of critical infrastructure and special events. He has a bachelor's from Rutgers in history. Proud to have him on board. I welcome you, retired Captain Joe Sansone. John Quinlan. John lived in Howell for over 20 years with both of his sons, and they both went through the school system, married for 26 years. He retired on January 1st, 2018 after serving 25 years with New Jersey State Police. He retired at the rank of lieutenant as the Assistant Bureau Chief of the Emergency Response Bureau. His duties included overseeing hazmat unit, urban search and rescue. He proudly patrolled the Garden State Parkway, Homedale Station, over 15 years of emergency management experience, International Association of Chiefs of Police, a division of state and provincial police, 2001 Trooper of the Year, North Atlantic Region. I present to you retired Lieutenant John Quinlan. Andy Hansen. Come on up. Big man. He comes to us after serving 25 years of distinguished service, professionalism, and leadership with the East Windsor Township Police Department. He served as a police officer, crime scene technician, senior field training officer, detective, sergeant, and retired as a detective sergeant supervising and managing the training and professional standards unit with East Windsor. Additionally, he has worked with federal and state organized crime task force throughout the East Coast. He's one of our intelligence officers here in the police department. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree from City University of Jersey City in criminal justice with a minor in communications. He also has a master's degree in administrative science from Fairleigh Dickinson University with a minor in human resources administration. He sits on the board of directors for Deborah Hospital, their strategic planning board, advisory board, and is a representative of the Captain Busio program for first responders. He is an associate for Barnabas Health Institute in assisting individuals who have experience in opioid overdose. Obviously a tremendous asset here in Howell. He's also a college and high school lacrosse, and this overachiever, you. college and high school lacrosse and football official. And he's been married for 25 years. He has 2 children, and he lives in Ocean County. I present to you William Andy Hanson. Yeah. All 3 of them are going to get sworn in together.
Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I, John Williams, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey. And I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, to the governments established in the United States and in this state, under the authority of the people. So help me God. I do further solemnly swear that I will impartially and justly perform all the duties of Class 3 law enforcement officer according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
I was just at a Chiefs meeting this morning, and a lot of the Chiefs were complaining that they couldn't find quality, experienced police officers, and they're all looking at me. Sorry I took them.
Gentlemen, can you please sign this?
Public should feel very confident knowing that these fine officers are inside of our schools protecting our students and our staff, our most vulnerable portion of our community. They're part of the whole plan that we have here with additional officers that couldn't be here tonight. Thank you. The next 2 officers I want to call up are Vinny Bonner and Mike Macia. If you can come up here, please. So both of these officers have been around for quite some time with us, and they made the transition from being patrol officers to being detectives. So we never really had ceremonies for when somebody switches job titles like that, but we started doing it last year. So we're going to continue that tonight. Vinny Bonner graduated from the Ocean County Police Academy in 2006. He started his career in Seaside Heights in 2006 as a Class 2. Hired by Howell in 2008. Currently, he's a field training officer, advanced patrol tactics officer. 2010, he was honored by Howell Little League for his Exceptional Community Service Award. 2012, Mad Mother Against Drunk Driving Award. 2013, Jason Merle's DWI Prevention Award. 2017, Recovered Firearms for Multiple Handgun Award, Recovery Award for doing that. Also recognized for his honorable service, Distinguished Service, Meritorious Service, Unit Citation, Life Saving, and General Service Award, all through our union. So I present to you Vincent Bonner. Michael Macia graduated from the Monmouth County Police Academy as an alternate route, another one who put himself through in 2009, hired by Howell Township that same year. He's currently a field training officer. He's a firearms instructor, advanced patrol tactics member. He received a Life Saving Award in 2013, MAD, Mother Against Drunk Driving Award, 2014, Kimberly Smith Ames DWI Prevention Award, 2014, Jason Merle's DWI Prevention Award, 2015, MAD Award, 2015, Recovered Firearms Award, 2016. Present to you, Michael Macia. Both officers have been assigned to our crime suppression unit. It's a section of our detective bureau that deals strictly with street-level crimes, trafficking, narcotics, weapons possession, burglaries, robberies, any other type of violent crimes. These guys go out and deal with it. All yours, Sheriff.
Hands on the Bible, raise your right hand. I, say my name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. So help me God. I do further solemnly swear that I will impartially and justly perform all the duties of detective according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Good job, Mike. Before I close, I'd like to thank all my staff that were here. You can see obviously the support that my staff has, not only for the officers that were sworn in tonight, but also as a sign of gratitude to the council for allowing us to be up here tonight. I would be also remiss not to recognize retired Captain Jeffrey Mayfield. Jeff, where are you at? He's falling around the back. Okay. Jeff is responsible for a majority of all of our careers in here. He was also a mentor to me throughout my entire career, being my supervisor from day one to the last day he left as a business manager here. So thank him as well. And I thank the community for coming out and for our support. Again, thank you to the council and management. Have a great night.
If I just may, you know, it's easy for the governing body, the council, as the chief thanks us to support, you know, the support that he receives. But we live in turbulent times, as we all know, and not only is law enforcement a profession today, it's a very dangerous time. And the support we give is nothing. What I really want to say is the support comes from the families and the friends of these police officers as they start their careers and as they stay in this career. So just all the support the community gives, friends and family means so much, so that's very important. We have the greatest police department. I say that not only, as I said, but as an elected official, but as a resident, because of leadership. And the leadership starts at the top. The chief has always said that his standards are the highest probably in the state of New Jersey. And I'm amazed when I see the level of quality of retired police officers that come out and are willing to serve our community and protect our children and our teachers and staff. Chief, that's kudos to you and your leadership team. And I think a real thanks is owed to you. So thank you. Yes. With that, I'm just going to turn it over to Sheriff Sean Golden for a few comments.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate the Deputy Mayor's comments. First and foremost, thank the Mayor and Council for all they've done for law enforcement in Howell. As a long-time Howell resident here, I'm honored and humbled to be able to swear in the officers, but I wanted to say a few words about the Department of Howell Township Police because what the Deputy Mayor and what the Chief had already said is correct. You know, as Sheriff, I get to see a lot of departments around the County of Monmouth, 48 in total, and by far Howell Township is the best police department in our county and probably one of the best in the state of New Jersey, and that's a testament to Chief Kudrick and his officers. And the Chief knows I'll get in trouble with my own sheriff's officers for saying this, but
it is a family, and we all work together to make our community here in Howell and the county, of which the officers have a large part, the safest in the state, and we truly are. One of the things I wanted to say this evening, because I always do, and the chief knows it when I stand up here, is a lot of this legacy you see here around you is not possible without great leaders such as Chief Kudrick. But he comes from a line of great leaders, and Harvey Morrell, our former chief, God rest his soul, and God bless his family, who had a hand in so many law enforcement professional careers throughout New Jersey, mine included when I started in Colts Neck Police Department, and Harvey was the director. From Harvey Morrell to Chief Carter to Chief Kudrick, Howell Township should be so proud of our men and women in blue here tonight that keep our community safe. God bless them. Thank you very much.
We're going to continue the meeting in about 5 minutes. What we are going to do is allow anybody, any family members, friends want to come up, take pictures with the new hires or family, feel free to do that. So we'll take a 5-minute intermission and feel free. Okay, good evening. The next item on the agenda is hearing of citizens. Before we get into the hearings of citizens, there is an item on the agenda that I suspect many people are here for, and I want to read a statement into the record before we move on to hearings of citizens. Good evening. The governing body is aware that many of you come out tonight to speak about the homeless camp in Howell Township. We are also aware that there is information being conveyed that is not accurate, and painting this governing body in a negative light. Despite the fact that this governing body has done more for the homeless than any municipal body in the area, we are now being threatened with litigation. Therefore, we have been advised to not respond to any questions about this matter in order to protect the taxpayers of Howell Township. However, in the interest of ensuring the public has accurate information, we would like to highlight some key information. Howell Township came into possession of the land on June 30th, 2011, by way of a donation. According to the deed restriction, the township was required to maintain possession until at least July 9th, 2014, which was 3 years and 10 days from the date of transfer. In February 2014, the governing body began discussing the potential sale of the property and authorized the appraisal on March 21st, 2014, which valued the property at $1.2 million. Around July of 2015, the township began to receive complaints about a group living in the woods in the area. The same group remains on site to date. Upon subsequent investigation by then Mayor Gatto and myself, former Township Manager Mayfield, was directed to address the situation in the most compassionate way possible. After exploring various options, Township Manager Mayfield proposed a temporary solution. The solution included partnering with Destiny's Bridge, a nonprofit who would supervise the Howell Transition Encampment. Destiny's Bridge provided a plan that included the temporary housing and care of homeless individuals, and building a transitional housing community. The proposal provided for an intake process as well as each individual to sign a release and hold harmless agreement and a community agreement. Aside from the community rules and regulations, each of these signed agreements clearly indicated in part, and I quote, "I am aware that this is a temporary housing arrangement and that this does not create any type of landlord-tenant relationship. I further understand that the Township of Howell holds the right to close the camp at any time to sell the property. This homeless encampment has always been intended to be temporary. Destiny's Bridge and each individual staying on township property has been aware of this. The understanding was officially memorialized by the governing body via Resolution R-17-138, which contains language that mirrors the language indicating a temporary housing arrangement and the town's right to sell. On April 17, 2018, via Resolution R-18-128, the governing body authorized the sale of this property through an open public auction. The auction was originally scheduled for May 21st, 2018. However, it was delayed and a new resolution, R-18-161, was passed that rescheduled the auction for June 20th, 2018. The opening bid was set at the most current appraised value of $1.355. On April 18, 2018, the township manager notified Minister Steve Brigham and Destiny's Bridge of their intent to sell this subject property. This letter was delivered via email, overnight mail, and hand-delivered. Minister Brigham was notified by the township manager on May 30, 2018, of the change in auction date. On April 18, 2018, various township officials met with representatives from Destiny's Bridge. During that meeting, there was discussion as to how many residents Destiny's Bridge had been able to transition to permanent housing. We were very disappointed to learn that there had been no residents transferred to permanent housing to date. Despite many people having been there for over 3 years, there was also a discussion about potential closing dates for the sale. It is believed that where Destiny Bridge has come up with the July 20th date to vacate. The public auction was held in the municipal building on June 20, 2018. 2 bidders offered competitive bids, with the highest bid being offered in the amount of $1.63 million. The acceptance of the bid is on tonight's agenda for the governing body to contemplate. As part of the advertising, auction, and sale of this property, it has been consistently articulated that, and I quote, "The property is currently occupied by an unknown number of homeless individuals. The successful bid agrees that all responsibility for relocating those individuals from this property shall be the sole responsibility of the successful bidder, and the township shall not be required to assist financially or otherwise in the relocation of the individuals on the property." Let me be very clear about that language. It was included to let potential purchasers know that the township was not going to spend taxpayers' money on relocation. The language was not intended to create a duty on the part of the purchaser or to tell the purchaser how to relocate the individuals, nor was it intended to create any rights whatsoever in the members of the encampment. The language was included to protect the township and was for the township's benefit and nobody else. Destiny's Bridge has posted on social media that they have until July 20, 2018 to vacate the property. This is completely untrue. To date, the township has never set a deadline for the property to be vacated. The township has been advised that the purchaser has met with some representatives from Destiny's Bridge. He inquired what the needs of Destiny's Bridge was to relocate the individuals in their care. Upon not receiving a response, he made an initial offer. That offer was quickly turned down, with individuals quickly turning to social media to criticize. Last Friday, the township was contacted by an attorney indicating that he represented some members of the encampment. As recently as this afternoon, the township attorney has been working to try to coordinate meetings with the attorney, the purchaser's attorney, and township officials in an effort to come up with a plan that works for everyone. It is disheartening to hear members of the public and the camp criticize Howell Township when we have provided land to use and made improvements to that land for the camp's benefit. The township has also arranged for access to medical screening, vaccinations, county social services, PAP clinics, and so forth and so on, all while this was the responsibility of Destiny's Bridge. I maintain that Howell has done far more than any other town around. The council is now faced with balancing the needs of these dozens of people versus the needs of over 50,000 residents. I ask you to contemplate how many would benefit from the injection of an anticipated $1.6 million plus the tax revenue by 10 acres of prime commercial real estate. There was also some other information on the social media. And by the way, social media is a great tool and it's a powerful tool. But it's unfortunate when people post misinformation, inaccurate information, for whatever reason, whether it's politics or just to get a rise, I don't know. But it's our duty up here, A, to be fiscally responsible to all residents of the township, compassionate to people in our care and in our town, which is everything we have done. Now, one of the things that was posted on social media, and I believe it was by a resident, was that there was another offer for this property by Habcor. And albeit there was a very small email exchange between the current manager and a representative of Habcor, the true story wasn't told. And again, it's unfortunate that residents choose to put misinformation out there to get a rise. Brian, I know there was some clarification that we asked you to clarify in response to this misinformation that's going out and the posting of, albeit the small little email exchange, when people don't realize that, you know, you've had multiple conversations. And I would really ask that you kind of itemize what has been said out there and what is actually the truth and the facts.
Deputy Mayor, after being advised of the resident making statements on social media, I had sent an email to the executive director of Habcor asking just a few questions that he quickly responded to. Essentially, the short version is, at that price range, they never would have been able to compete in that auction. They were looking for a donation of the property instead. The resident was also indicating that they would have been paying taxes. He clarified that they would have actually been seeking a pilot from the township as well. So that was clearly false information, and I can forward you a copy of the email exchange if you'd like.
I appreciate that. Again, the purpose of this is always to give the truth and the facts. This is a sensitive information, a sensitive situation. It's worldwide. It will never be solved by local municipalities. The people of Howell Township have been outpouring in helping people that may have just hit some hard times. But it's unfortunate that sometimes the old saying, no good deed goes unpunished, and we are facing potential of litigation. So I want to remind the public that I'm going to open up the meeting to consent agenda items or any items, but this council, again, has been directed by our legal counsel to refrain from any answering of any questions on this topic. So I kindly ask you to adhere to that for the potential of litigation. And thank you for indulging me to read that. We do have a list of residents that have signed up, the first one being Barbara Dixell. Mrs. Dixell?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening. Before I ask you a couple of other questions, may I please address your sidebar a minute? Regarding paving of Preventorium Road, when you did pave Preventorium Road, did you at least go into the entrance of the old Preventorium building and just pave the incoming entrance? Because you can actually lose tires in a pan going up that driveway.
Is this to the back door of the senior center? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's actually to the Preventorium Road, just how you get into
Get into the senior center from Preventorium Road?
Not only the Preventorium, the building, the old town hall.
Correct. That's the back entrance to the senior center.
To
That
me,
was
it's-
not part of this project. The project was from County Route 524A to Farmingdale.
So I guess Gotta go drive up there and lose your pan and tires when you go up there. But it would be nice if you would have done that, or at least include that, or do something. Okay. Okay. 9. I got the heave ho already?
I don't know what that was.
With the little ding dong, like they do on television?
Ding dong.
Yeah, 9A5.
Authorize changing of text, title, or the amount of a specific appropriation appearing in the 2018 adopted municipal budget, Alliance DEDR grant. So I believe, and I'll let Lou, turn it over to Lou.
Yeah, why are you changing things?
Lou will give you an explanation of
Okay,
why
thank
this
you.
is being changed. Lou, please.
Yes, Deputy Mayor. The Alliance grant that we have with the county is on a fiscal year, July to June cycle. The township is on a calendar year cycle. So in order, we are not permitted by state budgeting laws to not include any grants within the budget that we don't have confirmation of award that we will be receiving. Since the municipal budget has been approved, we have been contacted by the county, and we will be receiving the municipal alliance grant for another year. And there is a Chapter 159 resolution adding that grant into the budget. There is a cash match piece that the township does have to fund. So what we do within the budget is we budget that match for that grant as a match for future alliance grants, and when the grant is added to the budget, we do a text and title change so that it could be placed into the Alliance Cost Center as the cash match. We have done this for the last 3 years. It's standard procedure.
And just for note, Barbara, this grant is over $45,000 that
I'm
really
just
plays a
asking
good
why,
service.
you know,
No, I just want to put that out there that
why stuff has changed.
it's, in short, it's to follow,
Okay.
Division of Local Government Services rules.
Okay, 11.78 and 9, you can't talk about that now? I just ask why it's being changed, or why stuff again is being changed?
9A, 7, 8, and 9?
No, 11, 7, 8, and 9. Last page.
Deputy Mayor, I can handle that one.
Sure.
Those
please.
are amending existing ordinances.
Correct.
We are removing, I believe we're deleting the entire Chapter 226, plumbing,
Why?
because the chapter refers to rules that were from the 1970s that haven't been in effect since the 1970s. That's why we have the Uniform Construction Code now.
And you're going to update them?
It's already updated. We are removing this ordinance because it's no longer needed.
Okay, and then when you update it and you vote on it on the 14th of August and the others, you're going to do like we did when we did the soil ordinance, cross-reference like we did with, 269, and when we did the 188.1, we cross-referenced it in the ordinance. You're gonna do
It'll
that?
be deleted entirely. Plumbing will be deleted entirely. Everything falls under the UCC. So this was to issue licenses to plumbers in 1972. We haven't done that since 1974. So we're cleaning up the ordinances as we find things, and this was one of them.
Okay. Okay, my only statement on 9A15, if possible, do a separate vote on that, please. Take it out of your resolutions and do a separate vote, and maybe open it to the public. You also have discussion number 7, Howell Historical Society. Are you people going to work on that tonight and discuss it?
There was some new information that was delivered to the township attorney. We are going to pull that discussion off for this meeting and have it at the next meeting, once the township attorney reviews all the documents that he has received.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what I've been saying for a long time. And I know I gave the information to Penny at one time. The Howell Historical Society was granted by ordinance in Monmouth County. And I think Dot Granton had a lot to do with it. I know she's got the information. It was February something. I remember I gave it to you about a year or so ago. And of course, I didn't keep it, so they were started by ordinance in Monmouth County. And it can't just be, disbanded. It's an actual ordinance someplace in Monmouth County, done in the county. The thing with the homeless people, if you remember also, a year or so ago, I printed stuff in 1952, when our servicemen came home from World War II, there was no place to live. I lived in Brooklyn, around the corner from Mary Queen of Heaven Church on Avenue M, in East 58th Street. There was an area called Georgetown that was just a bunch of lots of weeds. And the Army put up Quonset huts for our servicemen and gave them a lot of them, hundreds of them, gave them a place to live. And I printed the information and I gave it to the homeless group on wherever that call. I called the lieutenant or whoever that was up here that night speaking, and I called her and I mailed it to her. So is there any way or anything that you guys can do or think of or whatever about housing for these people? Little Quonset huts for housing for these people that will give them a roof over their heads. And you're not going to...
Thank you for your opinion and suggestion, and as I said to you earlier, we're not going to be discussing anything about this.
But that was actual research that I did, that I pulled off the computer, that you can get on it by going on 1952, United States Army, in Georgetown. You lived there as well as I did, so
Yes.
you know exactly where it is. And they pulled off, they built Quonset huts for hundreds of them, for servicemen and their families, and gave them a house and a roof over their heads. So if you whatever people you're selling the thing to, talk to them about it, because I did give it to the homeless group. And like I said, if you can pull that thing off the agenda and do it separately,
Thank you,
I'm
Mrs.
sure a lot of
Dixell.
people would love it. And I thank you very much.
Next on the list is Kathy McGee. Whatever you would like. You could sit, the microphone will pick you up. You could stand, the microphone will pick you up. It's your choice. Just for the record, please state your name and address for the record.
Kathy McGee, 35 Merrick Road, Farmingdale Post Office.
Good evening.
Hi. I would like to thank the Township Council and the Township Administration and the Shade Tree Commission for the tree planting in recognition of the years of service that I put in for the Shade Tree Commission. I really appreciate it. It's nice to do something like that while somebody's still alive to see it. The next thing I just wanted to mention, a number of concerned people did come out tonight expecting a discussion on the Historical Society and the conditions at the Mcgee House, and I understand it's being put off again, but it is kind of inconvenient for us, so. If there's any surplus money along the way left over from projects and you could find a legitimate way to get it over to the Mcgee House, it would be great if that could be repaired. That was all I have to say. Virginia Krasinski is a past member of the Howell Historical Society, and she would like to just say a few words.
Virginia, before you make your statements, I'd just like to address Mrs. McGee. Ms. McGee, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for your many years of service to the Shade Tree Commission. I really have had the privilege to work with you on several projects. I know you were never there for the recognition, but I do want you to know it was well-deserved.
Thank you.
As I said previously, we are looking into some, hopefully to come to some resolve with this Historical Society. We do need the attorney to go over these documents. I could assure you that Councilwoman O'Donnell is on top of this, and we'll be making sure that it's discussed at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Virginia Krasinski. I live at 108 Minocqua.
Yeah, sometimes it goes in and out, so. It's on.
Is the switch on? Is it on at the bottom? Is there a little green light on?
I don't see.
See the little gray button? Push the little gray button. There you go. Now it's on.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Am I
Yes, ma'am.
good? Sorry, I have my back to everyone. I'm a 4-H'er. I've always been taught to face people. Good evening. My name is Virginia Krasinski. I've been, my address is 108 Minocqua Road, freehold mailing address. I've been a resident of Howell Township for 39 years now, and a past president of the Howell Historical Society. And I was asked to come out tonight by a number of the members to speak on behalf of the society and the concern about the Mcgee Museum and Library. When that building was taken over by the town and the historical committee, our goal and objectives were to preserve and protect that building as well as its collections. And apparently that has not happened with the current leadership. So,
If I may, being that we're not going to have this discussion and it will be on discussion for next month, I think to go into the whole history probably is not the right time for tonight.
Right.
What I will tell you is we are well aware about the situation at the Mckenzie. Myself and Councilman Walsh, with the help of members of the society, were able to obtain a grant to do some work. Obviously, it's a bigger job and more money than may have been anticipated. But if I may respectfully ask that since this is going to be a full discussion at the next council meeting, that we prolong your comments to that, knowing that there will be a discussion at it.
okay, I'll just share, I was the grant writer, one of the grant writers along with Virginia
Thank you.
Woolley on
Yes,
that grant.
I do want to thank you.
And I understand that it's been delayed tonight because of some paperwork was presented. And many of us came out, we've worked long days and spent, so is it possible that there's a commitment that when you say it's been going on for 2 years now, this discussion, when you say it will be at the next meeting, it will actually be, whether representative trustees of that organization show or don't show or present additional paperwork?
There will be a discussion. Councilwoman O'Donnell has requested it. She was kind enough to pull it, knowing that there was some documents that the attorney needed to go over, and that's what I can tell you.
Okay.
There will be on the next
So
discussion.
we'll go in good faith that this discussion will take place at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Wild.
Deputy Mayor, members of the Town Council, everyone else in Township government, and I guess everyone back there. My name is Jeff Wild. I am a partner at Lowenstein Sandler, 1 Lowenstein Drive, Roseland, New Jersey. I believe we're New Jersey's largest law firm. We also had the honor of representing about 120 people who lived in the Lakewood tent city, and we were successful after years of litigation in getting 6 months of rental housing for every resident at the expense of Lakewood. So this is a subject matter I know a little bit about, and hopefully I am not here to threaten litigation, and I am not here to posture. I am a problem solver, and I am here in the hope that we can avoid litigation. I believe the Deputy Mayor accurately described the chronology in a lot of ways, and I believe that Howell has acted humanely and lawfully right up until this very moment. I think we're at a point where I'm going to make a very modest request to avoid any chance that Howell would cross over the line into not doing it the right way, because you have been the good guys, and you have done this humanely for a very long time. I'm also the president of the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness. We're the only organization in the state that represents New Jersey's homeless people. And anybody who thinks that homeless people in New Jersey are like crazy people on the sidewalk in New York doesn't know a lot of homeless people, because they're people who are well-educated, hardworking. The people in this tent city are going to work and trying to make things right for themselves. I'll tell you what my suggestion is. I know you'll do whatever you'd like and whatever your council thinks. I think we have a win-win, and I think we should all be on the same side and not go down the path that has happened in the past here. My ask, I guess, paraphrase John Lennon, give peace a chance. you've already done one thing which I think is really positive. At least I had heard that at a meeting last Monday, some persons connected with Howell had said, you need to get off by this Friday, the 20th. And what I'm hearing is consistent with the good faith of Howell that I've encountered so far, and that the whole point of your sale was that the responsibility for relocating you feel as the buyers, and therefore I hope you can confirm that you're not going to force off anybody. You're selling the land, and you have contractually put that responsibility onto the buyer. But you've already allayed a lot of concerns by that first statement, which I appreciate. The one thing which I think sounds unimportant, but really is important, is I would ask for 30 days to sit down, Deputy Mayor Nicastro was right. There are discussions going on right now about a meeting with my firm on behalf of my clients, who include the homeless people in this room, many of them, and the attorney for the potential buyer. I believe that this is easily solvable in a humane way, and I believe we can do it in 30 ways as long as we maintain the status quo, and there is not a vote tonight on this resolution. You were very smart in the notice of sale to give yourselves 2 township meetings before making a decision. Time to get all the facts and to listen and to let meetings occur to try and settle the situation. And that's why I think it's important that this be tabled until the next meeting. And if I have not been successful in solving this problem, so be it. You can approve it then, but there is no time pressure to do it tonight. Let me explain some new developments. And Mr. Nicastro is right. This has been going on for a long time, but you've never met me. And my law firm has never been involved. And there are 2 very important new developments. The first one is our firm, after investigating the situation and studying the law, said we are going to, for free, represent these people and try to negotiate a solution with Howell and the potential buyer. I have not been hired to sue anybody. It is the last thing I want. That's why I reached out to a lot of the people in this room to try and sit down and talk before anybody does something which they might regret later. The other big development is that as of yesterday, I believe, I was contacted by a seller for the high bidder. We are entertaining actively ways that we could resolve this inexpensively, potentially, and without any financial contribution, at least for present purposes, and maybe ever, from Howell. So it's another reason why I hope in a lot of these new developments, I know you've been patient for so long, but you will give me and my law firm 30 days to solve this. I believe we can. There's a right way and a wrong way to solve these difficult problems. I can tell you the right way, you were almost there. The right way is to come up with a relocation plan, and you almost did it, but you put in the notice the buyer's responsible for it. Almost there, but you, I hope, will meet with me and the buyer with no obligation on anybody's part to fill out the details, to tell a homeless person, as the high bidder so far has, here's $1,000, that's enough to relocate in the state of New Jersey to new housing. It's just not accurate. It is true that I'm here to avoid litigation. The issue I want to avoid is something really interesting called the Poor Laws. It goes back to Elizabethan times, and it says every municipality, at the end of the day, if the system fails and you've got people outside in your land, you have the responsibility ultimately for helping them. I do not want to reach that issue. We were successful in the last case like this. I don't want to be successful in this case in the same way. What I'd like to do is to formulate a humane plan where people will get moved to housing where they can live. I was moved when you swore in your new officers and said, uphold the law of New Jersey and the New Jersey Constitution. It says in there that there is a right to emergency shelter, that if you find people living out in the woods, you can't just get away from that obligation by selling the land. Lawyers speak, you can't delegate that particular duty.
And just for the record, that's not what we have done.
Okay, well, I thought that I am not here to criticize anything that you've done. I've got a solution, but I will tell you that at least under my interpretation of the law, and this is one which at least prevailed in 3 years of litigation, you cannot sell land and delegate. You have to try and solve the problem before you approve the sale. And if a sale is approved without that plan being in place, that's where you're crossing into uncharted legal territory. You don't need to do it. I heard about $1.25 million surplus that you have. Don't pay lawyers. Ask anybody from Lakewood how much they spent on litigation. It is not something in your taxpayers' interest. This is something which can be resolved for a pittance compared to that, and I think that we are now discussing a possible resolution to this. I would ask, because I know there's a limit on my time here, that the members of the council consider taking a brief recess, like the 5-minute recess you took before. Consider what I've said. There is no downside to giving peace a chance for 30 days, and sitting at the table, which I will represent, has not happened yet. And there's a willingness to do it, but because my firm was just retained and council was just retained.
I thought you weren't retained.
I'm sorry?
I thought you weren't retained.
No, I am representing
Oh, now you are
homeless
retained.
resident. I have not been retained to sue. I've been retained to solve this and meet with you. And that's what I'm proposing is one meeting. You've been talking for years and it's gone nowhere, but I have a track record of success here. My firm has solved the problem, gotten people out of the woods, and done it in a way where ultimately Lakewood got the high praise that it deserved at the end of the day. We can be on the same team. We can solve it. But I don't think you need to take that extra step tonight. It is a big step. I don't think any municipality in New Jersey history has ever taken it. At least let me talk to your attorney about the legal authorities for what I just said.
I will note your request. I will also thank you for your advice as an attorney not to want to go into litigation, as that is the way you make your living. Sometimes. And, to say that you're a problem solver is good, and that you've solved the problem in Lakewood and made the problem in Howell is just a little ironic. Not that you made the problem, but
Yeah, I'm new here.
you didn't solve any problem.
I'd love to give me a chance.
It moved from one to the other. Your request is noted, and we will continue this meeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Mrs. Joan Osborne. Joan Osborne, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Council. Joan Osborne, 28 Bronia Street, Howell. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Environmental Commission, which voted on and to support a request that the municipality as a body, the governing body, issue a resolution in support of legislation that, as of right now, is kind of unformed, but to do something about plastic bags. The thin plastic bags are a scourge to the ocean. They take forever to degrade. They're found in the food that we eat. If you have seafood, the microparticles get absorbed in shrimp, plankton, fish, birds eat it, turtles, and it's harmful. And I'm old enough to remember when they didn't exist. I remember going to the store and getting paper bags. If you go to Delicious Orchards, you get paper bags. There are solutions. They're not necessary that we have them. Many jurisdictions are banning them now. Some are taxing them. I personally favor a ban, but I'm asking the council, because ANJAC, the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, has asked every environmental commission that is a member, and Howell is a member, to get their council to support some type of action on plastic bags. So that's what I'm here for tonight, and I would ask that you consider that and put it on the agenda for a meeting to have a discussion about the resolution.
Thank you. I believe Virginia, is this? I think it was Virginia Woolley, but I'm not sure. Is there another Virginia? Yank? No. No, okay. William Fields?
council, good evening support staff and people who work for us. I'm William Field, 27 Spring Hill Drive here in Howell, and I'm here to speak and support Joan Osborne's request that the council take up a consideration of a ban on plastic bags. You've heard her arguments, and they are completely correct. I just remind you that all of our waterways are clogged with plastic bags at various times. Our storm drains drain into our waterways, and so the problem is here in Howell. It's not just out in the ocean, so it's something we should look at very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Elaine Taylor.
I thought she was gone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and Council. Elaine Taylor, 1055 Maxim Southern Road. This evening, I'm here to support everybody else, but also, I'm the chairwoman for the Farmers Advisory, and I just want to let you know and the public know that Fire Chief Lewis will be coming to our meeting next Thursday evening at 7:30 to talk about the inspections of farms. And so I think, people are concerned about it, and I think this would give the farmers an opportunity to ask questions themselves and to be clear on what will be inspected and everything. And if anybody has any questions, they can contact me. All of my information is on the website, the Howell website, and I'll be happy to sit down with them and talk to them about anything that I know. And that's it for me this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience would like to come up? Good evening.
Deputy Mayor and everybody else over here. Rumu Das Gupta, 11 Chatham Ridge Road, Freehold, New Jersey. I'm just here to clarify one point. I had met with you, Deputy Mayor Nick Castro, and town manager and lawyer. And I do last Monday, where we had I was told that July 20th, which was a date which had somehow come about from discussions earlier, would stand. And when I asked you for an extension, I hope you remember.
I do.
I asked you for an extension till at least the end of July. And I was told that that wouldn't be granted, that the more time we were given, the more we would procrastinate, and that what we really should do was pack up, start moving, and that the town manager would be by to inspect on the moving. So, now when you say that you actually had not given a date, that sounds, very disingenuous to me. But I just wanted to clarify that point. But I agree entirely with the chronology that you presented. I have no quarrels with that whatsoever. And I really would like, more than anything, time. Time is what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. And with all due respect, I think your clarification is a little not correct from my recollection of the meeting with you, and the mayor was also in attendance. Point one is the manager did not go there to inspect the move of the property. He went there to inspect the condition of the property. He was never there to inspect the move because that was never said. And
No, that was exactly what was said.
No,
I don't want to stand here.
And we won't.
I won't, because that's exactly what he was
My
said.
recollection was that he
going to
was
go and inspect the state of the move. And
inspect the property.
the
There was no
other
move.
point-
There was no move taking place, so he can't inspect the move when there's no the move.
The progress. what kind of progress was being made. And I
The
recall very well, you're also saying that you almost made it sound that you were speaking on, you had the interests of which I definitely think you always had, otherwise you wouldn't have allowed this 1 year. But you said that we really should be moving before the new buyer brought in the police to forcibly remove us. And that you said that was something that you wanted to avoid. And I wish somebody had recorded that.
Yeah, me too,
meeting.
because I'm looking at the
I
manager,
really
and those
wish,
words never came
because
out.
that's because I'm not smart enough to cook up those kind of ideas. Why would I say anything of that sort? But I do remember you saying that if we needed to be proactive, that to avoid the possibility that the new owner might bring the police to forcibly remove us. I remember that very clearly. And so I just want, that essentially said how serious you were about this, that the people being moved by this designated date. So I just wanted to clarify those points, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the April 20th date was something which I kept asking to be moved. I kept asking that couldn't we move till the end? But now, I lay down all those points. I mean, I'm not going to quarrel with you on those things, because I'm really, I would like for you to consider, just this point about extension, that's all. So, but I did want to clarify that was why we, all got extremely, busy trying to move. And of course, that was the reason.
Did you say you're busy trying to move? I'm just asking.
Right, because, we had to move a lot of things from the encampment. We had a lot of things.
Has there been progress made at all, ma'am?
It has. We are moving step by step. And actually, of course, we had to decide where things would be moved. So that was the first thing which had to be decided, and how it would be moved
Have you come up with any?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Would you?
However,
could you enlighten us?
Pardon?
Could you enlighten us?
I don't think we are really clear about all the details, because we still don't know where the people would be going. And so we are still working on that, and that's why we would like the extension of the time. That's what we really would require more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I will say, your want to clarify actually doesn't clarify the facts as I and my the administration remember, but. Mrs. Sally.
Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale, New Jersey. I wanted clarification on a statement that was said to Barbara Dixell. She asked about paving the main entrance to the senior center, and then somebody said that's the back way. I believe the address is 251 Preventorium Road. It doesn't come in from Old Tavern, so can someone clarify that, please?
Sure, then I misspoke that was the back entrance instead of the front entrance. That was it.
But it comes in Preventorium, right? Not up through Public Works.
Correct. I usually come up from Public Works, hence my saying the back way in.
Well, I know, I mean, I was just like scratching my head when you said that. So.
That's all.
Barbara just wants a little extra blacktop, because it is nasty in there. A little, even patch it, patch it like it's a road with a pothole.
Right, I'll talk to DPW tomorrow.
Thank you.
First time I heard about it.
All right, now I have another question. Does the township require any financial statements from Destiny's Bridge?
I believe there are requirements that they have. I do not know all the details. Do you know about statements? I know there are other documents that are required. I do not specifically know about financial statements.
Well, no, because I saw in today's paper, they were talking about, sports authorities, that money's been taken. And if they're a 501c3 and they have over $50,000 income, they have to file in 990. So I just want to know, is there any kind of IRS paperwork, if they're a 501c3, you know, what is the income?
Yeah, they may not meet that threshold. I do not know that.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Okay. I don't think any of us have that answer tonight. We could follow up.
But you will, right?
Will what?
Follow through.
What did I just say?
I'm just checking. What he said. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara, are you coming back up?
I want to make a suggestion, not about anything like this, nothing to do with this. Mayor, council, sidebar, many years ago, while I was a county committee in the villages, when the new curly Save Watt bulbs came out, we have a lot of seniors in the villages, and I know everyone's bills are very high, and I figured, let me do something and see if we can help our people. And I'm only saying this to you because if we reach out to certain corporations, they can make huge donations and help. I wrote to Home Depot's corporate, and I explained to them our seniors are, you know, on fixed incomes and Social Security, and the bills are high, and the curly bulbs came out. Is there any way you could just help us out with a few, you know, curly bulbs we can deliver to seniors in the villages? Well, I have to tell you, I can't tell you how many crates of bulbs Home Depot sent me. And me and our office went through our list of, you know, real elderly seniors, shut-ins, sick people, and whatever, and to try, and so we gave everybody like 2 bulbs to the light that they use the most in the house, because they usually last and last. So what I'm saying this for is that if you reach out to Home Depot, to Lowe's, to any of these major corporations, they make huge donations. They build houses for our veterans. They may be able to help with any donation to help you rebuild the Mcgee house with very little output of all kinds of money from Howell Township. They make huge donations in the name of the public good. And heaven knows this is historical. This is Howell's history. I beg all of you, don't ever destroy or let anything or anybody destroy Howell's history. This is coming from us and a donation from the Mcgee family. Reach out to these corporations. I'm asking you, please, write. I'll be willing to write letters to these people. I've done it. I wrote, like I say, crates of light bulbs from Home Depot that we distributed in the villages. Reach out to these people.
Thank you, Barbara.
Lots and lots of money. Huge corporations have lots and lots of grants that they give away that they never want the money back for. But I'm asking you, you want me? I'll write letters gladly. But again, just please reach out to these people because they can help save the Mcgee house. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Kathy Novak, 16 Stratton Drive. I was just wondering if you are going to vote on tonight on the sale of the land. Is that a go tonight?
It's on the agenda.
Because I'm wondering if you have a quorum to vote on this, if there's any conflict of interest of any members of the voters present?
No, we will be calling Mrs. Smith. We will have a quorum, and we will, it's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Jerry Barron, 37 Danella Way in Howell. I'm here for a couple of items. I do support some type of ordinance about plastic bags. Either they get stronger or they get reused or whatever. Because I know myself, I go to ShopRite or Stop and Shop. I need to get like 3 bags to put my meat in because they're not strong. And if you're right along, time up. I don't. If you're right along, you see plastic bags stuck in trees and everything like that. It's ridiculous. We have to do something. So please work on it. Another item on the agenda, I noticed the senior citizens apparently is going to get the senior center is going to get the liaison between them and council, which is great. It's about time. They need extra help there. And the third item, Evelyn, I know the last time at the Green Team meeting, you were going to see about a meeting about the farmer's market between the administration and council and certain groups. Is that going to happen, or?
I did speak to Elaine. She felt she had forwarded the information that was required. I'm not sure.
Ms. O'Donnell, please, use your mic.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I did speak to Elaine Taylor. She felt that she had forwarded the necessary information that was requested by the administration. I had the impression that perhaps administration didn't have the information that they felt that they were requesting. So I will go over it again tonight with them and see where we are exactly on that issue, and if in fact they're going to have another meeting to see if they can take the farmers market further. Upon all of this conversation, I think it was Elaine Taylor that told me that Farmingdale was going to go forward with their farmers market, I believe, the last Sunday of every month. So in the interim, we do have something close by that is nice for the residents to be able to partake in. But I will go further with the conversation, Jerry, to find out absolutely where we are. The next Green Team meeting is Thursday?
29th, I think.
Next Thursday.
It's the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay. Perhaps by the very end of the meeting, I'll have the absolute answer. Well, actually, administration, do we feel that, did the information that came forth from Mrs. Taylor, was that sufficient, or do we not have all the information that would be required to answer the questions for a possible farmer's market? I guess, where did we wind up with this in actuality?
I was looking through the information that was provided, and I think there are some omissions that need to be filled in. In particular, there is a booklet provided by the state that explains to people interested in how to start up a farmer's market, and there are some critical things that need to be done, A, to protect the township from liability, and B, just to establish the market that I don't think have been done here. So if anybody wants, I can go through it and put together my thoughts about it and what needs to be done.
If I may just make one suggestion, Councilwoman, maybe you could reach out to Farmingdale elected official, maybe, one of the elected officials, just get some overview of what they did, how they did it, how it's going, and then report back to us for the next meeting?
Sure, I'll reach out to Mayor Daley.
Yeah.
And in the interim, could we get that information then, Mr. Clark, so that we could
Yeah, can you contact Elaine?
Sure.
just, go directly to Mrs. Taylor? Is that possible?
I will do that.
Okay, in the interim, I will speak to Mayor Daley of Farmingdale and see if there's anything else that may be offered up to help expedite something, even for the fall perhaps, and maybe we can still pull something together.
Figure it the fall, September, October, whatever, yeah, that was, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank
Will
you.
do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none,
Good evening, Minister Stephen Brigham, Howell, New Jersey. First of all, somebody said, judge no man by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character. First of all, nobody from our encampment sent an email about Habcor. Nobody. Do you have the name on that email?
I don't think that was said.
Do you have the name on that email?
I do. It was not a member of the encampment.
thank you.
That was never indicated.
Yes, it was indicated.
No,
Somebody-
it was
Yes, it was.
It was said a resident.
We all heard it.
What did you?
It was indicated that somebody in the encampment sent that email. Okay, that didn't happen. All right, just to make that clear. I remember the night that we heard about the sale of the property, and we came here. A couple of the members of the encampment, myself, we sat down, and I came to the microphone, and Mayor Teresa Berger was here, and I addressed the committee, and I went back to my seat. Before I sat down in my seat, Mayor Teresa Berger said, Minister Steve, we are going to do whatever we can to help you and to relocate you. She said that. And I sat down with a very fulfilled and confident heart that this committee right here, this township, was going to in some way help us. I went to a meeting the next day there, and it was a total different story. We cannot help you. I saw right then, again, a lot of insincerity. I agree. I believe this township did a great thing. This encampment is something, we're the only sanctioned camp on the East Coast from here to California, or from here to Florida. Nobody else. We have run that camp with dignity. There's never been any police activity coming down into that camp except one time where somebody from the outside came into our camp and they smashed our vehicle windows and dented up our vehicles from the outside. But we have never, not once, had a situation where the police had to come down into that encampment because of the residents of that camp.
Minister, if I may, in time, because we still have a lot to do. Can you make your point? Because those insinuations were never made that the encampment had problems or anything like that. This was a transition encampment. You had signed one of the agreements, knowing what the deal was. So please, I understand your emotions and all that.
All right, okay.
Let's stick.
Yeah, okay,
Let's stick to the point.
Okay. I think on both sides, we did very well. I kept my side of the bargain. You kept your side of the bargain.
Thank you.
We had something, you're very good.
Thank you.
What was your side of the bargain, sir?
Well, we had
Is it
certain,
on the
we had certain
municipal-
regulations, we had intake process, everybody had to be checked. So we had a lot of things that were required by the township that we fulfilled as a group, as an organization, as a nonprofit. We did our part.
And that this would be a temporary solution.
Right, okay. Nobody's saying
Okay,
that
just
that wasn't.
so- just
I'm
so
not
we're-
accusing you, right? I haven't accused anybody.
Okay.
What we put in a clause, though, in the contract, is that the buyer has a responsibility. And I hope that was sincere by the people here in this committee, that was a sincere.
It was sincere because he made an offer that the people in the camp
Right.
turned down.
When I asked people, when I talked to people, I went around to the people that I know, and they said, Minister Steve, it is so heartening to hear that the buyer is going to relocate you, meaning they thought it was something substantial.
What's substantial?
Substantial means substantial, not 2 weeks in a hotel. It doesn't mean that. It means something substantial. That's what it means, and that's what people thought. That was the spirit of that clause, and that's what people thought that was going to happen here. And so again, we're based on credibility here. This is what we're going by. This township from the get-go didn't show me a lot of credibility. We were both on the same plane. We both did our part. But then come that April meeting, I heard the township committee say we're going to help you the best we can. And then I heard another story, and I lost confidence.
You know, but truthfully, Minister, I was in on some of those meetings a year and a half ago, okay? And I've lost confidence personally. I listened to you say how this was going to be a temporary solution.
Right. It is.
Okay, a year and a half later, hold on.
3 years.
Hold on, a year and a half later, where are we further along with a permanent resolution?
We're going to relocate the homeless, but we have got a clause that says that the buyer is to relocate, and we're going on the spirit of that clause. All right, that's as far as we go.
But I'm going some on the spirit of what you said a year and a half ago in the meetings we had.
Right.
We had meetings a year and a half ago,
Right.
correct?
We did, yes.
And
we
during
founded
those
this, yes.
meetings, you directly said to us that this would be a temporary resolution.
Right.
Okay, a year and a half later, how far are you along towards a permanent resolution? You personally, you talk about the spirit. A year and a half later, where are you towards a permanent resolution?
Well, I tell you what, everybody in that homeless camp knows that this camp is closing, and we're going to do whatever it takes to relocate. Homeless people are used to that, getting beaten down by society. We're used to it, okay? All right, so we're going to relocate. We're going to relocate, all right? But there's a clause in that contract. There's a clause there. And the spirit of that clause says we're going to relocate those homeless people in that encampment in Destiny's Bridge, and that means something substantial to almost anybody that read that. Anybody I've talked to said, Minister Steve, I'm so glad they put that in that contract, so you're going to be relocated. That was the spirit of that clause, and that's what people think. And that's what we're going by. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, somebody said, yeah, and I trust Dr. DeScoop to the utmost, and I believe everything she says. She's got extreme credibility as far as I'm concerned. Her ethics are above anybody that I know. So she said that you said the 20th of July, which is this Friday. So what is the date?
That date was given by you, as far as I know. It was never given by anyone in our administration.
Whatever, what's the
So, listen, Minister, you're gonna sit here and tell me that
I
you
need
have
clarification.
have.
I've got people I'm taking care of. I need clarification.
Yeah, well, the clarification is, you will know when.
So it's not this Friday. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening.
To be honest with you, I had
Name and address, please, for the record.
Yeah, it's the second time I actually did that, when I appeared in April. John Townend, 203 Colts Neck Road. That was the first time I appeared before the council, and I remember saying I look forward to appearing again, so here I am.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I remember, as has already been mentioned, and I know you mentioned time. There's a lot of things to do here. Time. These people have run out of their time. They're looking for a little bit more time. You feel you've given them enough time, maybe too much time. How much is this time really worth? There's a lot of emotions running high. I heard the comments earlier, well, there are things said on social media that were not fair or toward the council. You guys do this all the time. A lot of things in this town you deal with on a constant basis. There's always people being critical on social media. It's going to happen no matter what the situation is. So I hope that can be put aside from the fact that there are people there and there are lives there and they're trying to make something out of it in the time that they have left and the time they've had. You said they've had a year and a half, or you mentioned they've been in the woods for 3 years. When I came to the meeting in April, I had just recently started getting involved with Destiny's Bridge. I found out about them. I became very interested in their cause. I wanted to join them and help them because I cared about what they were doing. I didn't know about the politics of homelessness at all, except what I read in the paper or hear on TV. You know, it is a problem everywhere, but I disagree respectfully with what you're saying is not going to be solved locally, because I think that's where it's going to happen. It's going to have to happen locally. Just like people who put forth the legislation recently in Trenton to get this tiny home movement started, where 2 areas in all 3 sections of the state are going to be asked to, if they want to be involved in that. Howell would have been a great one with this homeless camp experience to be involved in something like that, to get some of that grant money toward these tiny homes, to hopefully change this zoning procedure to help these people,
Just
to
so
help
you
them
know,
get more time.
Just so you know, in the meetings about a year and a half ago with the minister, with retired Sergeant Chris Hill from the Police Athletic League, who runs the program over there, it was all talked about back then, and the manager, retired Captain Mayfield from the police department. And it ended up not going nowhere. And that was after different explorations into it. So it wasn't a bad idea, okay? And it was worth looking into.
You're talking about the ordinance or the tiny homes?
The tiny homes.
Apparently, the state and some of our representatives are taking a better or a further look into it, and they think there is some validity. So
Well,
maybe
that
at the
was-
time,
That was a
not
year
for
and a half
Howell.
ago. I'm just saying, we looked at trying to do something to try to help on a temporary basis, knowing this would not be the long-term solution.
No, and I appreciate that very much, and I know what's been said about the amount of time, but I would submit for, thought that a year and a half, thinking that nothing's got accomplished. Well, I'll tell you what I've come to learn that has gotten accomplished. There were people who were in the woods in different areas with basically nothing, who were taken in by this camp, who went through an intake process, they went through a number of things to make sure they were acceptable to be in this camp. They helped get them in there. They got them established. They used some funds that they raised to get them tents and supplies and help to get food. They take care of each other to clean up that area. They went out to find some part-time jobs where they're going back and forth, maybe taking care of children or themselves. This is a lot to get accomplished and maintained during a year at a time. Minister Steve Brigham spends most of his time at the camp doing things daily and going out to other areas, including Lakewood on Saturdays, to give out extra supplies to the homeless community there, people who need supplies. You know, a year to be able to get an organization established, to get a facility, to get people to volunteer or people to get paid, to bring in social services or nurses or job training or anything else to try and get Destiny's Bridge off the ground to make this into something that they want it to be, a year is not a lot of time. But I submit that I'm not saying you have to give all that time. What I'm saying is they have tried, maybe not what you wanted, but they have tried and they have made some measurable progress as far as they're concerned in trying to help people's lives. So in the speed along the amount of time I have here, a gentleman came tonight. I've never met Mr. Wild before. I found out that he was coming to this meeting. It's my understanding that Destiny's Bridge does not have a lot of experience in all these things. Minister Steve's great on the pulpit, gives a great speech. He's been involved in this for years. He feels it from the heart, which is why there's so much emotion up here. But as far as dealing with the township, dealing with lawyers, dealing with different processes, feel like they're being pushed out, they reached out to somebody they were familiar with, somebody who was more a friend than a legal counsel, to ask him to help them, which is why I believe, without even having speaking to him, but having listened to him, that he came here to try and get a little bit more time to sit down and work it out. I know you feel you've given enough time. You want to have a vote. You want to move this along. In the media, which I can't recall who said it, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was somebody from the township, that said they might not have to be out for a couple months. All right, well, a couple of months, whether the July 20th date was mentioned or not, I know in the media, whether it's the press or NJ.com, I read, it could be a couple months. So Mr. Wild was asking for 30 days. You know, and you thanked him, and he sat down, and then basically the last comment that I heard was, he didn't make the problem better, he shifted it to Howell.
He didn't shift it.
Well, the situation shifted to Howell, but 120 people in a tent city didn't come to Howell. People went to different areas after they moved, and they finally found a spot in Howell where they were found out eventually, and were able to work out an agreement with you. And that is appreciated, and I applaud you for doing that. But what I would ask for, when emotions are running high, and I see all the antagonism going back and forth because emotions are running high, you feel like you're being attacked, they feel like they're being thrown out, everybody's at edge. Is that 30 days really so much time? He basically said, at the end of the 30 days, if I can't get an agreement worked out, they're out. You know, they're not even going to stand here and give you a hard time. But he's
Nobody
looking
said
to
that,
try and-
sir.
He did say that. He said at the end of the 30 days, if he can't get it done, then whatever you decide happens. So that can't be 30 days from this
That is
date?
not what was said, sir.
But then what did he say? What did he
I
say?
didn't-
I'm talking about Mr. Wild. He stood up here before.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear, Councilman. Tonight on the agenda is accepting the highest bidder.
Okay.
The attorney knows the process, okay? I'm not going to indulge in a back and forth conversation. It's going to be more than 30 days, I would assume, and he knows it, we all know it. So emotions are running high. We are a compassionate town. We are a compassionate community. You've witnessed it, you've seen it. We're not putting time, 3 years, whatever. You know, whether 120 people came here or whether 12 people came here, there was an agreement made. There was an understanding made, okay? There is no secrets here. This was full disclosure, transparent to the fullest. What the intentions of this property was, this was a transition camp. Please understand what we're doing tonight and what the chronological order was. You know, we're all used to being up here getting criticized.
Have I criticized you?
No. When you mentioned that, you know, the tensions are high. No tensions are high here. There's no antagonization. We have a job to do. We serve a full community. There is an agenda to accept the highest bidder. Okay, we've heard everyone's compassion and statements, and that's what we're moving forward on the agenda tonight.
Okay, I appreciate that and the laser focus that you had on me while you said that, while you're saying there was no antagonistic.
You said it.
No, because the way you're looking at me right now and the way you're projecting, And the way
How do
you're
I look?
saying it,
How
you're
am I
not
look?
exactly being friendly.
I can't even
demeanor.
see you because the lights are in my
Well,
eyes, but go
and
ahead.
that's unfortunate. Maybe the lighting should be adjusted.
Maybe.
But I would mention too that the only reason we appeared at the April 17th meeting, if I have the date right, is because the day before or the morning of, Minister Steve found out that the property was up for the agenda. So in all this time, with all the back and forth, with all the chronology, no one could reach out to the camp and let them know that the property was being put up for bid the next day.
The agreement was that they would have a 30 days notice. We gave them over 30 days notice. There's no,
You told them the next day in a letter or an email you stated that what we had already found out on the 17th. But nobody reached out to say, hey, this is coming up, and we have this great agreement with you, and we've had this process and this ordinance. Maybe you want to be here at the meeting tonight if you have anything you want to add. No one said anything, and we showed up without being invited, any announcement, just a little block in the paper saying which block and lot number, and somebody thankfully actually saw it, or we wouldn't have been here to voice any opinions at all, which is not exactly the way to go if you have an ordinance with people or a resolution and you're trying to solve this in a fair manner. That speaks volumes as far as just trying to move something along. And I get it, you have a lot to do.
Did we
I've
vote
taken
on
up
it
too
here?
much time.
Hold on. I want to understand something. Did we vote on this from the dais to put this piece of property up for sale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the
At
17th.
the meeting, we voted to put the property up for
Yeah,
sale.
on the
At a
17th.
minimum bid.
And your point is, because I mentioned, that no one reached out to bother to say it was going to be on it. So if you have a great relationship and the town's done such a good job in trying to be a friend of the homeless, why can't anybody let them know, hey, tomorrow this is on the agenda. Maybe you'd like to show up since you have such a vested interest in the homeless that we've been here to help. But no one reached out to the camp at all. We had to find out on our own and come and find out that it was up. Yeah, is it your obligation? No.
I don't.
But as a friendly relationship between the camp,
I
why
was
not?
in on the initial conversations that we've not interacted ever since the initial meetings a year and a half ago.
Okay, so there's.
On an individual,
So
on
when
an individual
Howell's,
way.
in the governing body's feeling for people in the township that an ordinance has been established to help, there's no reason to bother to tell them that it's about to come up to a vote to end it until 30 days later, when they'll have 30 days less to be prepared for what they're doing.
Let me be clear. Your criticism is well noted. We don't typically do that. We treat every ordinance and every notice the same, but your criticism is noted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And like I said, I wish you could give it the 30 days that was requested. I have a feeling when I sit down, you're going to say, we're going to continue with it, and I understand. But I would like to end with, I plan on attending as many meetings as possible in the future for all the different things that are going on in this township. I'm going to be very vocal on them. I'm going to get involved. And in the future, I plan on running for this council. Thank you very much.
Welcome. This will be the last person, so please come up to the mic.
Hi, my name is Teresa Farran. I'm from Freehold, New Jersey. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm watching you and you're saying no hostility. You know, and this is all politics. And you know what? With everything that's going on in the world, we're sick of politics. These are human beings. This is a community. This, you know, yes, it's say, okay, well, we'll send you to a hotel. But that's not the point. These people have formed a community, a little thing of their own. They've had a garden, and they have a church, and they have, and where are they going to go? And who? And yes, I think Howell's wonderful. I live in Freehold, and when they send me the thing to pay the cops, I send money. And you know what I put on the bottom? Thank you so much for being kind to the homeless. Steve tells the story about him being stuck one night and all of a sudden waking up the next morning and there's gas on his car, and the only person that could have known that was a cop. So we understand you guys are beautiful and you have a beautiful heart and it's very nice. But these are human beings. Please don't forget that. And all this politics in the land and all, this is people and this is a community. And I really hope you look into your hearts. Okay?
Thank you for that, and I would just say, I hope that Freehold Township would also look in their heart as much as Howell's looked in their heart.
I wish we could take them.
Yeah,
I wish
know.
we could.
All right, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. Penny, can you please get Councilwoman Smith on the phone, and we will continue to move with our consent agenda item.
I want to go to the restroom before we go.
We'll take a 5-minute intermission so we could do a restroom break. Okay, we're going to reconvene. Penny, can you just put on the record that Councilwoman Pauline Smith is on the phone?
Yes, will do. Good evening, Pauline.
Good evening. We're at the consent agenda.
Yes, we are. We're just about ready to get there.
Okay, just to let you know that I've studied the agenda and old background material, and I don't have any problem. There doesn't need to be any discussion on my account, but if somebody else has it, I will listen.
Thank you. I'm going to need a motion for consent agenda item 9A1 through 9A26.
Make a motion to approve 9A1 through 9A26.
Can I have a second,
Second.
please? Can I have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Next on the agenda is the 9B motions. We are going to make appointments to the Preservation Task Force.
Make a motion to appoint to the task force that expires December 31st, 2019, Pam Richards. Member that expires on December 31st, 2020, Elaine Taylor. Member that expires December 31st, 2021, Liz Crombie. And member that expires December 31st, 2022, Wendell Nansen.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Make a motion to appoint to council liaison to the Senior Advisory Council, Councilwoman Evelyn O'Donnell.
Mrs. Smith, can I get a second, please?
Councilwoman Smith, Deputy Mayor has asked you to second that motion.
Yes, certainly. Second.
Thank you.
Roll call, please. Do we need a roll call, or?
Yes.
Yes. Mrs.
Please.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Councilwoman O'Donnell, thank you for stepping up and taking on that extra duty.
My pleasure.
We are going to move into our ordinances. On the first agenda is 10.1, 2018 Bond Ordinance General Capital Improvements. You need anything?
Yeah, I got one, don't worry.
Ordinance number O-18-11, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/12/2018 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication on the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of the 6/15/18 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. Mrs. Penny, can you read the title of the ordinance, please?
Certainly. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and the acquisition of various capital equipment, appropriating $4,300,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,085,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
I will now open this up to the public. If anybody would like to speak about this ordinance, please come up. Seeing none, I will close the public portion.
Motion to ordinance number O-18-11 be finally passed and adopted. Notice of its passing and adoption be published in the 7/2018 issue of the Aldrich Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Thank you. The second ordinance on the agenda tonight is 10.2, 2018 Capital Ordinance Sewer Improvements. Ordinance number 0-18-12, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/12/2018 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publications of the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/15/2018 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, bond ordinance providing for the rehabilitation of pump stations and the acquisition of sewer utility equipment, appropriating $550,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $522,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of cost thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak about this ordinance? Please come up. Seeing none, I will close the public portion and ask for a motion.
Motion that ordinance number 01812 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice and its passage and its adoption be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Next on the agenda is 10.3, amend salary ordinance for the Superior Officers Association. Ordinance number O-18-13, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/12/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/15/2018 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. Can you please read the title?
An ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
If anybody from the public would like to speak on this ordinance, please step forward. And seeing none, we close the public portion. Motion, please.
Motion to ordinance number O-18-13 be finally passed and adopted, and notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/20/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. 10.4, authorize the public sale of certain property owned by the Township of Howell, not required for public purposes, to the County of Monmouth pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-13.4, Block 155, Lot 8.06 and 8.11, off Casino Drive, for the sum of $50,000. Ordinance number O-18-14, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/12/2018 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/15/2018 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. Please read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the public sale of certain property owned by the Township of Howell, not required for public purposes, to the County of Monmouth pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-13.4.
If anyone from the public would like to speak on this ordinance, please step forward. Seeing none, close the public portion, and I'll take a motion from the council.
Motion that ordinance number 01814 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption will be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. 10.5, authorize execution of an amended conservation easement regarding Block 183, Lot 97, 98.01, and 98.03, Colts Neck Road, Elway. Ordinance number O-18-15, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/12/2018, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/15/18 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, authorizing the execution of an amended conservation easement regarding property identified as lots 97, 98.01, and 98.03 in Block 183 on the official tax map of the Township of Howell.
Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this ordinance, please step forward. Seeing none, we will close the public portion. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion that ordinance number O-18-15 be finally passed and adopted, and notice of its passing and adoption be published in 7/2018 issue of the Aldrich Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. That moves us along to introduction of ordinances. The first one on the agenda tonight is 11.1, amend fee schedule, Chapter 139. Introduction on July 17, 2018. This ordinance amends the fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 17, Section 34, 35, 36, 37, 40, and 41 to amend the amount of certain fees. Can I have a motion, please, from the council?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 01816 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it'll be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 14th, 2018, 7:30 p.m., prevailing time in the municipal building.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Title of ordinance, an
Please.
ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article... Give me a second. Article 17, Sections 34, 35, 36, 37, 40, and 41 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I don't have none of them after this, just so you know.
Say that again. You don't have...
11.2 through 9,
I'm looking here.
just so you know.
In your book?
Yep,
In the book?
Or in front of you?
in my book or in front of me. I got 11.1 and 11.10.
I got 1110.
11.1 and 11.10 were revised, I believe, today. That's why you have them.
11:1.
Okay, 11.2 through 9 is not in my book.
Correct. Don't have it either.
I have, I'll share it with them. Can I have a roll call for 11.1, please?
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Sorry. I'm a little flustered at the moment. Let me just think this through a second.
11.2, amend fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 35, building, plumbing, electrical, and fire subcode fees. This ordinance amends the fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 35, Section 86, entitled Building, Plumbing, Electrical, and Fire Subcode Fees to amend the amount of fees. Can I have a member of the council read the motion?
Yes. Motion to introduce ordinance number 01817 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that'll be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 14th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m., prevailing time in the municipal building.
Can we have a second?
Second.
Can you read the ordinance
Sure.
by title?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article 35, Section 86, Building, Plumbing, Electrical, and Fire Subcode Fees of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Next ordinance is 11.3.
I got it, I'm okay.
Okay. Amend fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 9, Fire Prevention. This ordinance amends the fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 9, to make certain fees consistent with the New Jersey Administrative Code and to establish a new provision relating to farms.
Motion is orders number O-18-18 on first reading by title, an order saying to be published in the 7/2018 issue of the Aldrich Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passing on first reading by title. That will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held at 8/14/18 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Can I have a second, please?
Second?
Can you read the title, please?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article 9 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call.
Please.
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. 11.4, amend fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 38, waiver of fees. This ordinance amends the fee schedule, Chapter 139, to amend the types of fees that may be waived. Can I have a reading of the ordinance? Anybody have it?
I don't. Oh. Motion to introduce ordinance number 01819 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it'll be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 14th, 2018, at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Please read the title.
Ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article 38, Section 89, fees that may be waived of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. 11.5, amend fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 5, maps and bids. This ordinance amends the fee schedule, Chapter 139, entitled Copies of Maps and Bid Specifications to amend the amount of the fees.
Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-20 on first reading by title and order the same to be published in the 7/20/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passing on first reading by title. That will be further considered for final pass of the public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council to be held at 8/14/18 and 7:30 PM prevailing time municipal building.
Second.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article 5, Section 9, copies of maps and bid specifications of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Roll call.
Roll call. Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. 11.6, amend fee schedule, Chapter 139, delete certain provisions. This ordinance amends the fee schedule, Chapter 139, Article 13, Section 22 and 23, Chapter 139, Article 20, Section 63, and Chapter 139, Article 36, Section 87 of the Revised General Ordinance of the Township of Howell, to delete certain provisions in their entirety and to reserve certain articles in Chapter 139 for future use. You have it?
I do not. Motion to introduce ordinance number 01821 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage by first reading, on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 14th, 2018 at 7:30 PM, prevailing time to the municipal building.
Second, please.
Second.
Title, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article 13, Sections 22 and 23, Chapter 139, Article 20, Section 63, and Chapter 139, Article 36, Section 87 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Amend Chapter 226, Plumbing. This ordinance amends Chapter 226 to delete the chapter in its entirety and to reserve it for future use.
Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-22 on first reading by title. An ordinance saying to be published in the 7/20/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passing on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 8/14/18 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title: An Ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 226 Plumbing of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Amend Chapter 252, Article 3, Sewer and Water. This ordinance amends Chapter 252, Article 3, to delete the article in its entirety and to reserve it for future use. Can I have a council member?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 01823 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press Together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it'll be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 14th, 2018, 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second, please.
Second.
Title: An Ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 252, Article 3, Water Utility of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. 11.9, amend Chapter 281 Pools. This ordinance amends Chapter 281 to adopt a new standard code and to clarify that fees are found in Chapter 139 of the code.
Motion to introduce number 0-18-24 on first reading by title. An order saying to be published in the 7/20/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of introduction and passes on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council to be held at 8/14/18 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title: An Ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 281 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Amend Chapter 281, no, did we do pools, right? We just did that.
Yeah, we did.
11:10.
Amend salary ordinance,
Yes.
Alliance Coordinator. This ordinance amends the salary ordinance, setting a salary range for the Alliance Coordinator. Can I please have the read?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 01825 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the July 20th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press Together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it'll be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting in the Township Council to be held on August 14th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title: An Ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. That wraps up our introduction. Is there any unfinished business that we have for tonight?
The only thing I did want to bring up earlier, we spoke about maybe looking into putting bathroom and concession stands over in Soldier Memorial Fields. Can we look further into that, Mr. Harmon?
Absolutely, Mr. Walsh. We do have an opportunity for a grant coming up. I don't know if you'd want to consider that.
Definitely would have interest in any grants that we receive to help improve the town, but
Okay,
would be interested.
very good.
Give us a conceptual plan, some estimates, some things that we could talk about one night up here, okay?
Will do.
Thank you.
I just want to end this by saying to the manager and deputy manager and community development, I know we had a lot of ordinances to introduce for a lot of cleaning up. This was a very detailed mission to do, so thank you. I'm sorry it took so long. I think we still came under the clock of 11 o'clock. So with that, I will, there is no information to read other than our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, August 14th. Executive begins at 6:30, regular session again begins at 7:30. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Good night, everyone. Get home safe.